But talking a little bit about the business, right? You're in a space, the flexible workspace solutions, industry, which is growing at a very fast pace, and you have kind of like a first mover advantage. You brought WeWork to India. Tell us a little bit about the growth opportunity that you see, not just in urban, but also in like tier two, tier three, which is picking up in a big way.
Yeah. I think we have to just, really think about where India is in relation to maybe where we want it to be or where it's going to be over the next 5 to 10 years, right? And I think we're like so early in this journey, even though we have a dream for 5 trillion, and then getting closer to maybe where China or the US is, which is a massive gap. I mean, we're at 3, 4, 5 trillion. They're at 19, 20, 25 trillion. So the gap is huge. And I think in order to get there over the next decade, there's so much entrepreneurship, so much business activity. The scale and size of our businesses also need to grow so drastically that we are playing basically as the rails to enable a lot of that business growth over the next 5 to 10 years. So by just doing starting with a very simple idea, which was, can I provide inspiring spaces where startups and freelancers want to come to work, has evolved to firstly doing that, but also taking away this inconvenience or this friction points that businesses had in being able to set up, grow, scale fast, not have to put upfront capex in, have flexible terms when it comes to real estate, because businesses grow in a very dynamic way. Businesses have cycles, industries have different cycles. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. And for a long time, real estate has always just been a very static part of how businesses grew. It was a fixed cost, on a P&L. Wasn't an enabler. It was just a place where I'd house people, for my company, and this is where everyone comes 9 to 5, and the fax comes there, and if I have to meet someone, I need to show up at that office. I think has changed drastically over the last few years. As businesses have gotten more dynamic, there's the need for this space or spaces even to help you enable your workforce and your growth. So I think we're at that point where companies and entrepreneurs and operators are starting to realize that I should have some flexibility in my real estate. It should kind of match how my company is going to grow over the next few years. And our entire segment is really trying to basically enable that. So if you believe that India is going to have this type of expansion in entrepreneurship and business activity, I think the flexible workspace sector is going to be a big part or a big way for you to play that growth. And our opportunity is really to kind of grab on to how these businesses are evolving, try to figure out how we can provide products, services, spaces, and infrastructure services potentially post that just allow operators, companies and businesses to forget about this part of their business, partner with someone like WeWork, allow us to give you what you need when you need it, and you just focus on building your business and doing that. I think as a young entrepreneur, people spend so much time on managing their office, managing all this admin stuff and things like that, where all that focus should just be in growing and building your business. So the opportunity is massive. It's growing faster than double the rate of commercial real estate today, which in itself is growing so fast. So the penetration is getting larger. About 35-40% of all new leasing is happening in flex, right? So you can see that that acceleration is definitely happening, and large multinationals to startups to mid-sized companies, they're all adopting the model.
So you said 35% of the new leasing is happening in the flexible workspace solutions. And out of the entire demand boost that you've seen, where is the maximum demand coming in from?
So it's, the entire game it's around talent. Today, India's office market and everything that's happening is really just driven by the demographic and the talent. And the largest employers continue to be global businesses today, it started with your Fortune 100, Fortune 1000 type of businesses. Now it's GCCs that, are really hiring in India, and this could be large scale as well as mid-tier GCCs. So where companies earlier, let's say like Target or, Lowe's, etc., were setting up GCCs in India. Today, there are these global businesses that are really mid-tier businesses. So, for example, in our space, we have a company called Neuralink. They do data analytics at the back end of, mass data points. It could be like sports or whatever it is where they do some of that. They just set up a few thousand people in India. They're not going to grow to being tens of thousands like someone like Amazon, but they're going to have a small setup here in India. And so I would say global businesses still continue to be a big part of where the growth is coming from, both multinationals and GCCs. What we're slowly starting to see is this real growth of Indian corporates. Now, Indian businesses starting to scale, wanting to compete not just in India but globally as well. And I think that's going to drive MSMEs in India, and some of the large Indian businesses are going to start competing for the same talent that these global businesses have been hiring so quickly.
It's interesting, actually, the
Yeah.
surge that we've seen in GCCs in the last 1 to 2 years has been immense. I
Yeah.
mean, especially also because of what's happening with Trump's policies and with the hiring situation in tech,
Yeah.
etc. So a lot of the work is moving to GCCs now.
I think, again, just going back to the talent point, right? Like if you look at the US, you look at Europe, you look at countries like Japan, it's the population is aging, so the young workforce that can do technology, can build all of this technology, actually is so limited compared to the scale at which these companies need it. Also, the costs obviously of living and the cost arbitrage continues to be so high. So India is like really a bright spot for talent that is going to be unmatched for maybe the next 10, 20 years. Just looking at how young our demographic is, we're English speaking, we're so technology first when it comes to our ability to learn and actually build some of this, that if I'm a tech entrepreneur, let's say in Europe, I find it hard to find engineers, that I can just house in, let's say, France or something like that. So I need to come and look in India to be able to actually hire that type of
That
talent.
talent. Oh.
And India also has moved significantly in the value chain. We used to be call center, back office type of work, right? Today, all global product development for large tech businesses is happening out of India. Your high value R&D happens out of India. So a lot of things for some really large companies gets built out of here. And the surge is just that. It's because we have this talent that these companies have not much choice in the world on where they can hire at scale and get this high level output. So that's something that I think we'll continue to benefit of over the next few years.